Has God said? If you're the Son of God. Those are the two things. I think every temptation issue that we face in life falls into one of those two categories, either questioning what God said or questioning who he says you are. I'm not one to try to feed off what the devil is doing to figure out what we're supposed to be doing. I don't like that at all. But it doesn't take a genius to realize that the enemy is working hard to really foul up people's identity. And I don't say this out of humor or mockery or, with any malice. It's just we have a lot of folks, and maybe even people that are in the room that have joined with us today, who aren't sure of your gender. What once was common sense isn't anymore. Why? Because we got a culture that started listening to the wrong questions. Has God said? If you're the Son of God. It's amazing what aspects and parts of culture that seem so absolute and immovable, how they can be moved if he can just get people to ask the wrong question. See, the enemy's questions don't lead to Jesus. The Lord's questions always lead to encounter. Always lead to a place of faith. Always lead to a place of encounter. And so the last thing declared over Jesus before this encounter in the wilderness was the Father speaking, my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased. And twice in this series of temptations, the enemy says, if you're the Son of God. I don't know why it surprises us when we have this fresh insight of what God's going to do in our life, that that's the first thing to get attacked. It shouldn't surprise us. Well, I thought for sure the Lord said the business would work, and I don't know why we're having these problems. That's actually why. That's actually why. It's the fully embracing what God has said. Here's the deal. There's a design to our life because of a designer. The designer creates design. Design implies purpose. Purpose implies destiny, and destiny requires accountability. If you mess up any of that sequence, you end up with people living for themselves instead of what God actually intended for planet Earth. And the thing that's being so harassed, if you will, in culture by seemingly well-meaning people is to question the most simple things in the world. I point to it not for mockery, not for, obviously to arm us for prayer, but the more secure you become in who you are, the more you and I leak that sense of identity and purpose into a culture. It's become sure of the right things, become firm in the right things. Number one, you're made in the image of God. Every human being is made in the image of God. Why? For the purpose of relationship. Yes. It's the design. Yes. There was no other part of creation that God could fellowship with in the same way that he fellowshiped with Adam and Eve, and now with those who are born again. Nothing else even comes close. He celebrates every aspect and part of creation, but only people made in his image, now born again, are created for seamless connection and relationship. You're made in the image of God. And at your worst point, lost in sin, you were worth dying for. That's who you are. You were worth dying for. And your neighbor who doesn't yet know Jesus, he was worth dying for. She was worth dying for. That person you work for, they were worth dying for. Jesus calculated the price and looked at the prize And that's worth dying for. And when we embrace that, we don't just embrace fire insurance to not spend eternity in hell. We actually become grafted into a family that has been assigned to be filled with the fullness of God, doing greater works than Jesus himself did. There's to be a full manifestation of the triumph of Jesus in the earth every single day of our lives. It's the assignment. It's the design. Has God said? If you're the Son of God, those are the two things. I think every temptation issue that we face in life falls into one of those two categories, either questioning what God said or questioning who he says you are.
Wow. Wow.
You were designed to be a part of a people, a chosen race, chosen not because we're better. In fact, God tended to choose things that were less. Yeah, I didn't choose you because of your strength. I chose you because of your weakness. Well, how do I brag about that? Yeah, that's the point. That's the point. He chose us as a people, a chosen race, every one, regardless of your natural race. We are a chosen race, according to Scripture, together. Sons and daughters of the King, a new creation, which means a creation, something created that has never existed before, for the purpose of illustrating who Jesus is until the earth is filled with the glory of God. The target of the Lord is the earth is filled with the glory of God. And it's through an obedient, surrendered people that live for his purposes, that live under the glory of his name. This is the privilege of life. And there's just two things we anchor our soul to. One is, what did God say? And two, who am I? What has he declared about me? In the case with Jesus, this is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased. I remember watching my boys play baseball. I'd be in the stands, and one of them would make a great play, and I'd stand up in the middle of that crowd and I'd say, whose son is that? That's his delight over you. If you forget it, you'll get weird. If you forget it, you'll make stupid decisions. Evil things only become appealing to a people who forgot who they are. Here's the thing I want to pray the most. I'm going to start at one thing. I want everyone in this room to know who God says we are. That's all. This is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased. Or my version, whose son is that? Whose daughter is that? There's something so engaging about seeing his delight over us. Not here, here. The deep realization, you were not chosen as a part of a group. You were chosen by name, and he delights in you. So, Father, I pray in the weeks to come, this would become clearer and clearer for the honor of the name Jesus.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you watched this video. I do pray that it's a great, great strength and encouragement to you. And I've got a verse that really is my cry for all of us. And it's Psalms 20, it's verse 4. May he grant you your heart's desire and fulfill all your plans. That's my prayer. That's my prayer, is that this would be the season of rich, rich fulfillment. Thanks for joining us.